captures the heart of what we're talking about recently and regarding the restoration of the prodigals and, in fact, the prodigal son. The fact is that a prodigal is aware of what's going on in the Father's house, but they reject it. And that's the most painful thing for parents, for friends, when you begin recognizing that there are people who, they understand what it means to follow God. They understand the commitment. They understand the call. They even know the prophetic words that have been spoken over their lives, but yet they still continue to choose to go and squander it on everything else. It's hard. Many times they'll become engaged in horrible activity, maybe alcoholism or drug addiction, or maybe they're even into criminal activity. Most of the time, it's very tough for people who are the parents, the siblings, or just the friends of those who at once walked with God. I was watching just a few days ago something where an individual is just every demonic thing they can put on their website, they did. I was there when they got baptized. There are things that break our hearts, and like, Lord, what is going on? And you question, God, did you ever touch them? And he said, just watch, just wait, just watch. Just wait, just watch. It's coming. And there's something about the prodigal son. Here's a young man who knows the ways of God. He's watched his father for years. He's lived in the house. But he reaches a point where he just says, I think I can do this better. I think I have more ability to bring about a better ending for my life. I need to get away. He says, Dad, give me some money. Give me what you would give me. Give me my inheritance. And the father says, okay. Gives it to him. The young man leaves. Has a lot of friends when he's got money. As long as he's got resource and a way to figure out resource, he's fine. But eventually he reaches the point where he has no more resource. It's exactly where God wants him. See, many times what we do as parents, siblings, friends, is we enable behavior because we don't want a person to suffer and go through difficulty. We don't want them to have a difficult life in any way. We want them to be happy. And the Lord himself is saying, I'm trying to make them unhappy without me. What are you doing? You're still carrying so much of my desire for their entire future that you're messing with their immediate future. They need to recognize they need me. And some people won't like what I'm saying here, but I want you to understand that many times in the process of a prodigal, God has to take a person not just to the bottom, but to the very bottom. To the very bottom. And in this situation with the prodigal son, he reaches the bottom. He's literally there feeding the pigs and hungry, tempted to eat food for pigs. Probably tries it out. Can I do this? And it says it was then that he came to his senses. See, most of us are praying for the return of the prodigal, but maybe what we need to be praying for is, God, would you take them to feed the pigs? Would you take them all the way in to where they can come to their senses? Can you take them all the way to the place where they are absolutely bankrupt of anything hopeful and purposeful in their life, where they recognize that they need you? God, can you completely let this thing bring about its purpose? See, when the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 5 talks about this man who is caught in vile activity, the Apostle Paul said, listen, I have already decided what to do with this guy. He says, we're going to turn him over to the devil. We're going to turn him over to Satan. And most of us are going, no, what are you talking about? And he says, that's what Paul said. For the salvation of his soul, that God could reach into his heart. God doesn't want to pacify us when we're in sin. He wants us to understand that we have nothing without him. Nothing. And in the story of the prodigal son, the father relinquishes that, and the son is gone, and the son ends up in the service of the unclean, in the service of the slop, in the service of the enemy and the enemy's house. And it was there that he came to his senses and said, this is not what's designed for me. I'd rather be a servant in my father's household. They were better treated. And he came to his senses. Today we're praying that prodigals will come to their senses. That they'll come to their senses. That they'll recognize, I need something to change. It's at that moment the prodigal begins going home humbled. You have to understand that there is no returning to the Father's house with pride. There is always a returning to the Father's house with humility, because God gives grace to the humble. But he's against those who are proud. Pride is the hardest thing in the world to overcome. I remember hearing Arthur Burt, who's with Jesus now, preached until I think he was 105, something ridiculous. Had hung out with Smith Wigglesworth. And I remember him saying, pride is like, it's like bad breath. The only one who knows they don't have it is the person with the bad breath. See, when you return to the Father's house, you have to come back with humility. And if you don't have humility, you've got pride. And the problem with pride is that we don't know we have it. It's like bad breath. We're the only ones who don't realize this is really bad. And there's something that God wants us to understand, that when we come back with humility, see, God has given us our inheritance. And there is an inheritance that remains for our brothers. And in that story, we understand that inheritance, but there's something else. There's something else that comes that eclipses inheritance. And it's what the Father does. The Father runs to his own. That which has carried him through life, that which has spoken to him of how to make it through, that which has been his reign of authority, that which has been the path that he's walked on, that which has clothed him. And he runs to his own closet and he says, go fetch this stuff, go put this stuff on my son. Go give it to him. No, he may have lost that early inheritance, but he has an inheritance in me that none of my sons have recognized. That there's far more, there's depth that God has for me that I'm giving to him. See, there's something that happens in this brokenness that reveals the love of the Father. There's something in this apparent prodigal nature that brings the prodigals back to the house, where they begin understanding, I'm not a servant. Now I'm a son. Now I'm a son. I may not have a lot, but I have what my Father has given to me. And in what my Father has given to me, the values, the authority, the wisdom, the grace, the kindness, the forgiveness, the joy, the love, that when my Father gives that, I can carry that all my days. Lord, I'm asking today you bring home the prodigals. Bring them home. Lord, let them eat pig slop today. Let them find that what they have is not adequate, not good, and it's much better in the Father's house. Bless them with that incredible thing called humility. Break their pride and restore their hearts to the Father's house. You have a good day.